Hi, as promised last week, I'm back with another wealthy habit number 2, living within your means. Always, always, always live within your means. Never exceed your means. In my mother tongue, there is a saying that if you just sort of sat and ate through your wealth, some of the tallest fortunes can crumble. Some of the tallest fortunes on the planet have actually eviscerated or evaporated because they did not live within their means. This applies to people, this applies to corporations, this applies to kings, emperors, empires. You want an example? The British Empire is the greatest example on the planet. After having burned through much of the imperial wealth that it accumulated by subjugating so many countries across the planet, it saw that entire wealth evaporated just in a span of 2 wars. At the end of World War II, Britain was a poor shadow of its former self. Yes, it's still some sort of a force to reckon with in the world, but it's nowhere closer to the world domination in practically everything that it was about a century ago. What can we take away from that? No matter who you are and how big of a fortune you have, you always need to live within your means. Now you might ask me, hey, why don't I just maximize my income or maximize my means? I want to maintain whatever I have and I want to maximize my income. Now that's a good thought, but the problem with that kind of a thought is that maximizing means or maximizing revenue or maximizing income always works on a slightly different time scale than living within your means. The number of variables that are in your control when you want to live within your means are far more greater than the number of variables that are in your control when you want to maximize your means. Now, there is very little tangible advice on how to live within one's means. So I'm going to give you a few guiding principles. I'm not a big fan of thumb rules, but I still think in order for most people to have something tangible, I should share a thumb rule here. So thumb rule is our goal in order to begin a good investing journey is to get to a point where we are saving 50% of our income. Put it another way, I am living on 50% of my income. Now you might say that I'm actually crazy. I beg to differ because I have actually implemented that in my life when I used to earn 300 rupees a month and 100x that sometime later. Now that we have a thumb rule, it's time to understand how to get there. But before I share that, let me reiterate that living on 50% of one's income or getting to a point where you're saving 50% of your income is the end goal. It is not the beginning point. Because quite frankly, for many of us, we may actually be living beyond our means by borrowing through personal loans or credit card. So let's go through the steps of how we can get to having some money left over at the end of every month. Look at everything that you pay for and identify your needs, your must-have and your essentials and your nice-to-have and your wants. Once you do that, start looking at your expenses and start segregating them into identifying what's going towards your necessities or your needs or your must-haves and the amount of expenditure that is actually going towards your wants and nice-to-haves. Now start focusing on how you can start reducing the amount of money that you're spending towards your wants or your nice-to-haves. That means you're actually cutting down on your nice-to-haves or your wants. And lastly, once you start seeing small successes from some of these, start looking at other places where you can start cutting down on your nice-to-haves and wants. How does this play out in real life on a daily basis? Do you really need that pack of cigarettes? Can you use a roll-on instead of a deodorant? If you're someone in the habit of ordering online for your lunch and dinner, maybe start cooking by yourself. Fruits and vegetables cost way less than processed food. Start looking at how much you dine out on a monthly basis and maybe start cutting it down by about 20%. I'm not saying cut it down fully, but make a change, make a reduction, and start looking at if you're planning your taxes. I know a lot of people who have not filed for refunds, or when they do pay their taxes, they pay a lot of interest and penalties. Small bits and small decisions like these add up. And before you actually see it or even notice it, you'll start seeing that there is tiny bits of money left over every month. If you begin this way, there is a good chance that in about 12 to 18 months, you can start living within your means. Not just that, you can start saving a lot of the income that you're actually spending and get closer to the goal of 50% of saving your income. Next week, I'll come back with another wealthy habit number 3. See you then.